Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast for Mashin Sentai Kiramager. I am Bashi V, and joining me today is.
Rai, welcome to episode 27. Uh, so this week's episode is about Sina. Uh, and she does track, and so she's training to improve her 100-meter sprint. And she is training with some guest appearances. Uh, for any of you that have seen Geki Ranger in the past, uh, I already forgot their names.
Masaki, Miki, and
That's it.
Natsume.
Yeah, Masaki, Miki, and Natsume. So, uh, Miki was the tech expert for Geki Ranger. She was the one that, uh,
Pretty much made all their
yeah,
weapons.
made all their gear, made all their weapons. And then Natsume was her daughter, who is all grown up now. And it is the same actresses because Japan has that stipulation.
Which, thank God for that stipulation. Because that was unexpected to see. Because it's like, as soon as she, like, popped up, and I'm like, that's odd. She looks familiar. And she works for SERCT, and I'm like, it is her.
Uh,
Especially once they started using John speak.
right. They start saying things like Niki Niki and Zoa Zoa, which are John's two most famous ones because they're the most frequent.
That
Uh,
I think it's that. I think the only other one that's more famous is the Washi Washi.
oh right, Washi Washi Niki Niki.
Yes.
For anyone who doesn't know what I just said,
You got some required watching to do.
yeah, you first off go watch Geki Ranger. It's a really phenomenal Sentai series. Second off, Niki Niki is just basically like it just means a bunch of positivity and like good natured such. And Zoa Zoa, it refers to like the bad guys. It's like their hatred, their intent to hurt others, all that negativity that they bring. And Washi Washi, I'm actually Washi
I
Washi was
forget
just
what
kind
that
of
one
like
was.
he used it when he really wanted to like emphasize the Niki Niki. So I think Washi Washi was just like his like explosive phrase like just saying Niki Niki wasn't good enough because like he was super energetic about it. So it was Washi Washi Niki Niki.
No worries.
No worries. Okay, that makes sense.
It's an
Like these
odd
are up
thing.
to interpretation, by the way.
Yeah,
These do not have direct definitions.
that's where they go.
Like even in this episode, they'll give like direct meanings to some of the phrases, but even then, it's like yes, that's still just an interpretation.
Right. Like even the bad goes. Even Garuza goes, or Garuza or Yodana is like,
I think
what a broad
Yodana,
interpretation.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yodana
what
is
a
the one that
broad
comments is like, what a
interpretation.
broad interpretation. Because another one that uses Mora Mora, which is like uh, it's not just enough to escape from the darkness, basically.
Right.
Because Sina is feeling down about how she's not improving. Uh, so Natsumi gives her a new, no, not one of them, gives her a new device, which will record how fast she's running and such. It just straps around her waist like a fanny pack. And then the Yodam army attacks.
And then it becomes a plot of speed.
Yeah. So they hold the two hostage while Sina is out jogging, and they turn the device evil and explosive, and so if she drops below 15 kilometers per hour, it will blow up.
I've to be fair, like I know, like yes, last week I made crack about the fact that this episode purely exists solely because the director happened to like the movie Speed, which is still probably the case. But this is handled really well for being the plot of Speed.
Right. And again, there's a lot of similar imagery to several different Bond episodes in Deca Ranger.
Right. Like
Uh,
it is very.
in particular, the bike episode, which was very much more like Speed. uh, there's so you get like a little like montage of Cena running and like struggling to like keep going and such, and it's just like she has to go up some stairs and such, and it's like, yeah, this feels very much like some like a Bond moment right here.
And then of course they had to be the what I'm calling the let's reference Ghost by having her force fed takoyaki.
That there were actually two things that made me think of Ghost this episode. There was that one where she was eating the takoyaki, and then when the rest of the team show up to fight the monsters, and it's just the grunts sweeping harmlessly.
Right.
That also made me think of Ghost, where it's like he showed up and the monster was just painting, and he's just like, well, "What do you want me to do?" He's
What?
just painting.
Oh yeah, him. I forgot about him.
Yeah,
The one who becomes a you know who starts living at their house for a while before going on a trip.
yeah. He before he leaves to go find his own way in life.
Yeah, but he talked. Yeah, yeah, he talked. Sorry about that.
Okay, so uh, we also like because Geki Ranger was 13 years ago. We also get a brief scene of Murio explaining Geki Ranger to the Kiramagers, and so he just straight up shows some clips from the old show, mostly of John and his nonsensical language.
Right. It's that, and then pointing out that both of them used to hang out at the company.
Right, I'd actually forgotten about Natsumi, the daughter, until I looked at it. I was like, all right, she taught John patience through cooking. Because he liked food, and so she was making him food, but he tried to eat it before it was ready. And so he had to learn, like, I have to wait until it's finished before I can eat it.
Fair, this is what happens when you raise a wild child. He didn't know any better.
Yeah, he was raised by tigers or something. So, to make sure that Cena can't just take off the fanny pack, uh, the monster of the week glues it onto her. But wait, I hear you saying, we already did Glue Jamen. Well, this is his younger brother, Super Glue Jamen. And in traditional Sentai fashion, his costume is a slightly different color.
Yes. It's delightful. And even his glue is a different color. His last time it was white, now it's yellow. Now he has an infection.
Uh, so yeah, we get a really good moment here where Miki uh, is like still talking to Cena because Yodana is all like, "Hey, just tell her to keep running. Don't let her know anything is wrong." And so Miki is just like, "Oh, okay. Hey, Cena, just keep running. Just keep your speed up. Don't worry, everything is Zoa Zoa."
Ah,
It's like it's the perfect way to send encoded messages. Like no matter
right,
how no matter how thoroughly aliens study the Earth, they would not catch on to that.
because how do you catch on to a language that 5 people know? Like everything about this episode is just handled excellently.
Like the throwbacks to like older Sentai tropes, the inclusion of the Geki Ranger lore, just the general plot itself on its own. Everything is great.
Right, like without any of those individual pieces, like each section would be fantastic, regardless of, you know, whether the two actresses were there or whether or not uh this particular plot of the bomb and whatnot. It's like everything would work perfectly well without everything that added to make it that much better. I mean, they could have gone 40 some odd episodes without ever mentioning Geki Ranger, and we would have accepted that as just being a, oh yeah, that the logo thing was just a nod to a previous Sentai, and then we get this as like, oh,
And like going off of the Deca Ranger imagery, like you have her running up the stairs, like, oh, so many stairs. And it just makes me think of Bon on the bicycle, like going up a hill.
right. Like the imagery and nods in this episode alone are fantastic. Then you add in the fact of actually fully connecting it to Geki Ranger. It's like, oh, this is much better even because of that.
And the running gag is that Cena doesn't understand the John speak and she gets mad about it. She gets so mad. Like, just stop using those nonsense words already.
Like, I don't think anything beats her first initial oh my god reaction for that.
Because she's clearly been dealing with it a lot off camera.
Right. Because, these are the two who've basically been training her. So it's been driving
they're,
her up a freaking
they're
wall.
straight up her sponsors. SCRTC.
Like, and of course, the one person who immediately picks it up is Juru. Because, imagination.
Right. Uh, Taking a moment where Yodana is slightly distracted because she's asking Guruza if this is an appropriate time to laugh, Miki manages to break free Natsumi and tries to fight Garuza with her Juken,
Because
leopard
that giant,
style.
people forgot that she could do that.
I forgot she could do that.
I did too.
But yeah, she was trained in that shit too. She just wasn't. Well, actually, she's a grandmaster now.
Right. So she went, at some point she raced up. Because I don't think she was a grandmaster to start with. Because wasn't, what's his name, the leopard? The
Uh,
mentor. The mentor. The cat person.
no, wasn't he a fox?
I don't remember. It's been a minute. Since I like that was the one thing I quickly ended up forgetting was which style all of the extra characters
Let's
were
see here.
for the masters.
Master Shafu. Uh, oh, he was feline. Uh, Caracal? What the? Caracal. It's a wildcat native to Africa. Oh my god. Hold on, I'm putting this on screen real quick. Look at this. This thing's adorable. That's what he was.
I'm still waiting for it to pop up. There we go. Full screen this so I can say, oh, that is adorable.
Right? They're native to Africa.
Well, I didn't mean what, and also I didn't mean what physical character. I meant like Jukin style.
That was it. That was his
Oh,
Jukin
that's
style.
what it.
Yeah, because their animals were their Jukin styles.
That makes sense.
That it was just generically like felines in general.
With that mid-podcast research.
About a completely different show.
Yeah, only because it's slightly relevant to what we're talking about, and we didn't think of the questions beforehand.
So, for anyone who's wondering why the grunts were sweeping, it was so that when the super glue shaman comes in, there wouldn't be any dirt to like get in the way of his glue, so you could glue the Kiramagers down to the floor. And when Jiro tries calling Kira full arrow, he shoots glue at it on its way in, and it crashes into a bike, and that bike crashes into a building and breaks off a bunch of rubble that falls on top of the bike. But then Natsumi comes in, and she's really strong, and she pushes all the rubble away, and super glue is just like, doesn't matter, you're not gonna be able to unglue it from the bike. And she's just like, who needs to unglue it from the bike? She just brings the bike to them.
Her and Takemichi hold it up cannon style
while Jiro activates it. Yeah.
Like, my best thing about that is like that the way that played out with her showing up kind of misled me a little bit, because I know that there have been times where Sentai has done this in the past where they've had the guest morph.
Oh, you thought maybe she was going to turn to a Geki Ranger?
No, she had the morph. She literally had the morpher. I was expecting her to just temporarily become green.
Yeah, Cena asked her to hold onto her morpher while she was jogging so it wouldn't slow her down. Wind resistance when you got like your hands up.
Yeah.
In fact, like my elementary school gym teacher taught us to like keep your palms flat so you're cutting through like the wind rather than doing the fist. I don't know how much of a difference it makes.
Short term, nothing. If you're actually trying to do this stuff, like track and field, it does. If it's just casual, it really doesn't do much.
So, with her life on the line, Cena finally figures out what John Speak means. Like, Zoa. Okay, she must be captured by the Yodam army. She said Mora. It's not just enough to get away from the darkness. Oh, I've got it! And so here's what she figured out. She needed to get out of line of sight of the
drone
that was following her to watch her progress, so that her friends could save her while it wasn't looking. And that's the part that Yodana is just like, that was a pretty broad interpretation.
Especially considering what happened. It wasn't, because the way she worded it is like, because my friends will be there to help me.
Right.
And it's like, they weren't there. They showed up after that happened. It only helped you because of what happened earlier.
Right. They happened to defeat the monster at the same time that she ran under a bridge, so that the glue on the belt dissolved so that she could take it off and just throw it.
That's called luck, kids.
But this is what it means to be Niki.
It's what it means to be a Sentai. Niki. So I have a question.
What's your question?
With I hesitate to call it a fight. Cena transforming using the Go arrow
Just going straight for the finisher on Yodana.
and straight to the finisher. So I have two questions.
Okay.
One, does each member have their own finisher? Because now we have two. We've seen two. We've seen Rising Phoenix and Meteor Storm, which is Cena's for the arrow. So
Okay.
do all five of them have a finisher then? Logic would dictate yes. Also, she was the only one transformed. Does that mean she can transform for 500 seconds?
Okay. So to answer your first question, yes, in theory they would all have their own unique finisher if this is what they're doing. Or that there are just five finishers and each one is going to like perform a different one to show them off. To answer your second question, no. Because she's overloading herself with energy and so she needs to stop using it before it burns her out from the inside. So the time limit would be the same. She's not drawing any extra power.
Well, that leads to the other side of it. If she's the only one using it, the power's not spread out along five people.
That's not
Shouldn't
the
it?
issue here.
But well, hold on. Just let me finish this one. Shouldn't that number now be shorter? Because now she's got more energy pouring into her from the arrow because it's not
No,
diluted across the five.
because she's not absorbing all of the energy. She's only taking her portion.
Okay, like I said, this is where we get into the crux of what are the rules of this thing, and you know
Like, my interpretation
because
is
that
that she's only taking her portion of the power, even though she's the only one using it.
right, and because that could be one of those things. She's taking her portion, or she's taking all of it, can use it for a shorter period of time. Most likely, you're right because
And
Sentai.
and she and like the time limit doesn't come from using up the energy, it comes from how long they can physically use it before it hurts them. So the time limit wouldn't be any longer. It could only be shorter if she was drawing more power out, but
That makes
that
more
would be
sense.
counterintuitive to the power up, to how Juru designed it, so I would assume she's only drawing her portion.
That makes sense.
With that being, like, especially since we saw earlier, when Juru used his finisher, the others were pouring their energy into him to make it stronger.
Right.
So, in theory, she physically only drew out her portion for her transformation, but when she went to use the finisher, all the excess was still in there. And
Okay.
so it really would have just wrecked Yodana's shit because it was just the full strength form, rather than if she used it while they were all transformed.
And that makes sense.
And that gives more credibility to why Garuza jumped in front of it to protect her.
So for Juru, it wasn't the fact that they were pointed into him. It was he was. They were doing
They were
his.
channeling it
They were
into.
doing Tomitona's mother thing of it's challenging into me just to get it to into this other thing.
Correct, yeah. Because if they gave
So
it to Juro himself, it would have killed him.
right, transference of power
So yeah,
done the right way.
Juro was just a conductor for the arrow. So Cena likely drew out the portion she needed for the transformation, and everything else, all the rest
Yep.
of the power was still in there, so she could just go for like a full strength finisher and wreck
Right,
house.
and yeah, she really is the one who wrecked house.
Yeah, Garuza has tanked the hit like a boss, which is interesting that he protected her. What's his plan here?
I mean,
Because I have
him teaming up with her has been suspect to start anyways.
right. Like, I'm always interest down for villain loyalty, but that's not what this is. He's shown to not have any actual allegiance to her. They just decided, like, hey, we'll team up. But to what end?
I have an idea.
What does he need her for?
So this could be a very good, very, very good way to write a character from a previous Sentai that we all had problems with.
What?
The final villain of Gosager.
Oh, Burajiro no Messiah.
Yeah, this is how you write that character whose allegiances shift until he's the last man standing. This could very well be Garuza doing that. Because obviously Carangel is not going to get him where he's needed, so he's moved on to Udana.
So like Garuza's trying to get rank higher up in the Yodam army, and since Yodana would outrank him, he's trying to get higher through her.
Yes, that would be my guess.
Oh, that's awesome.
To me, that makes the most logical sense because Garuza really has no need to team up with any of them beyond the fact that he works for the Yodam army.
For some reason.
Because he's a traitorous douche noodle.
Now that'd be
Aside
cool.
from that, yeah, but like I said, like that, it solves the issue that Gosager had, where we kept seeing this same villain with 3 different teams going, yeah, well, no shit. By the end, it was like, well, no fucking shit.
I'd have been more surprised if he wasn't the final villain.
Right. Like, and this plays it out naturally. Because new guy to the army gets stuck with a shit partner, which would be Cranshaw. Now she showed up and he went, let's hook up. I'll be of more service to you. You can be of more service to me. This will boost us both up. And then once he no longer needs her, off to the next one. Which there's at least going to be one more based in theory. Only because of positionings on the opening screen.
Right, we still have the witch's sister.
Yeah. That's my assumption on who the 4th is going to be. Because she's the only one who hasn't been dealt with that we know of. But then again, there could be, one of thousands different characters. It could be Bandora for dumbass reasons. For all we know.
No, Bandora,
For all intents and purposes of the fact that we have no idea who it really could be. Because it could literally be anybody.
Right.
That was...
So yeah, there's a mech fight thrown in. It's actually, because they kind of had to rush it, they actually did some unique stuff with it. So it's just Jiro and Sina going in on trains, plus Takamichi is there.
Takamichi's the glue shield.
Yeah, he's the glue shield, while the rest of them just kind of spray water at it to dissolve the glue, and then we go in for, a dive kick. And then out of nowhere, Mach comes in, and is just like, Senpai, notice me. He comes in.
To the effect.
He comes in and he's burning up, and he drills into the monster to finish it off, and telling Sino I want you to rely on me too. Even the Aqua Stone calls him out and is like, man, he sure gets jealous quick.
How dare she sit in another seat? She's not pushing my pedals. She's not pushing my pedals. Please push my pedals.
Step on my gas.
Honk that horn. Welcome back to the same joke we made in episode 1.
What do you want? And it was pretty obvious at the time. It's like, oh man, he's treating her like his mistress. And, that's what is actually happening.
Oh, wait, no, it wasn't episode 1. It was the body switching episode.
Episode 1, too,
Yeah, we did a little bit.
I think I was actually describing it to Zero, where I was like, yeah, he treats her like his mistress.
Yeah, and then the body switching episodes where we truly got into the step on my gas.
Okay, and then Cena has managed to shave 40 milliseconds off her sprint time because she understands the importance of being Nikki Nikki.
She understands it now.
Eh.
Like any true Sentai member would.
So now I hope that, like, it doesn't have to be every episode, but just every so often, I want her to say Nikki Nikki.
Oh yeah, like it. To me, that's the only way to continue this properly to warrant this particular episode for the way it played out. You don't go this hard on this type of language to not have a character use it. So I'll be very disappointed as well if they don't.
And
But
then,
like this is one of the few Sentais where a a single mech actually destroyed the monster, right? 'Cause that's
right.
exceedingly rare.
Like, the others weakened it for him, but yeah, he did dealt the finishing blow by himself.
like, and this is ignoring 6-member mechs because that's bullshit. But yeah, for like the standard, just random ass, starter mech, like outside of like Tyrannosaurus, which that they did that frequently in Zero Ranger.
Um, I think. I think Ryu Ranger's Mech and Die Ranger got a couple early on.
I know Gabatira got a couple. Hell, the first fucking episode.
Let's see. I was going to say Kaku Ranger because they had those mechs where like they all had their personal one, but they worked together, so I wouldn't really count that.
Do we count Tiramigo?
By like without the others, he definitely got a kill on the first episode.
Well,
Or
I mean,
wait, was
like I
that
said, it's like
combined?
that was combined in the first episode.
Okay, never mind.
I went back and watched it with Pixie, but there are a few moments where it's just Tiramigo. But do we count that the since the Real Soldier Mech is basically just Tiramigo with other shit added on?
I mean, even if he does have, if it's just him without the other shit added on, then yes, it counts because he's still just a singular mech.
Even if the only thing that gets added on are some drills on his knees.
I mean, it still makes him stronger by association.
Okay. That's why I said to me that one's a weird one because he literally is the base of the mech. Like from most everybody else in Real Soldier is just an accessory mech, in my opinion.
Right.
So to me that one's on the fence.
And so, we got our next song. It's Cena's song this time. It's a good one. I feel like it should have been a higher pace because of Cena's whole gimmick, but this is good.
Right. Like to me this pace would have been Sayo. The cute, kind of loving, cutesy song. Where something more energetic would have fit Cena better, but this still does work.
And so, because everyone else got one recently, next week's episode is a Shigeru episode. And features him talking to a mysterious new stone. We're pretty...
While Juru is talking to King Oladin in his space dream and drawing a phoenix.
Yeah, we're pretty sure it's the new mech to come with the new power up.
Which this is still awkward to me that we've gone this many episodes since the power up and not had the mech.
It's interesting. It's an interesting way they're going about it because the two aren't
Third,
technically connected to each other.
right? Because normally it's power up, mech. Here you go.
Right.
It's like they're usually very much contained and dependent on the other.
But this time it's not.
Which I mean, it could still end up being, hey, yes, you have to transform to go care whatever to use this mech.
But
Fine, I can accept
only
that.
for 100 seconds.
Or at least just long enough to summon it. You have to be in that form to summon it. Whether or not you don't need it to pilot it, you just have to have it summon it. I mean, they could go anyway with it.
Or it could be that, like, they use that power to, like, power it. So, like, yeah, they
Instead
use
of
it.
powering themselves.
Right, and so, like, they summon it, and they pour the energy that they would have into it, and so they can keep the suit on for aesthetics, but they're not in danger of burning up because they're not drawing out the energy, they're putting it
They're
into
just
the Moshin.
fueling the mech.
They're
Yeah,
just
they're just
fueling the
fueling the
mech.
mech.
That'd be really cool. Actually, I'd be down for that.
I can live with that. And really, all they'd have to do is the first episode do the little sparkle hands that they do.
Right,
And
they
then
already showed us.
yeah, they showed us how that it can be done and what it should look like. Just do that for one scene of when they're getting in the mech, and then you never have to do it again, because now we know what's going on. That it lets you do the suits without the CG on it.
So,
Looking forward to next week.
yeah. So, like, to give a short review of Saber so far, it's really good. It's got some really good ideas into it. Uh, I'm just, because I'm not doing the podcast on it, I'm not as invested as I would be. It's just kind of a side thing of like, yeah, I'll get around to that when I have time.
Have you watched the most recent episode?
I have not. But I am going to at some point this week because I'm liking it. I'm liking the show.
Oh, the show's good. You're gonna hate the new guy.
I almost got spoiled on Twitter when I saw someone like commenting like this guy comes in and like he does stuff, and there was a video attached to it that I didn't watch. It's like, you know what, I'll wait until I watch the episode. That sounds intense.
Like, it's not a bad episode. It's just, to me, it's a very let's introduce the goofball Sentai member.
Oh, that doesn't sound at all like what I was reading. It sounds like someone else.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's let's introduce the goofball Sentai member.
Okay.
Who's only here to have fun and whoop ass.
But my original point was, I am really enjoying Kiramager, and doing the podcast is probably like making me more invested in it because I'm paying more attention to it. But like just watching it week by week without the podcast, I would still be like looking forward to each new episode.
Oh yeah, like to me, and this was the issue I had with Ninja. Not that Ninja is a terrible show. Because going back and watching it, it's really pretty
The
decent.
first like 12 episodes are terrible, but then it gets good.
Yeah, but even still, it's like with Ninja, it's like it got to a point where even because I wasn't doing the podcast at that point, because I dropped out of Ninja because I couldn't stand the show. I ended up not caring whether or not I finished it or not. I quit looking forward to it, and I just kind of let the show end. If I wasn't doing this, you could bet your ass I'd still be here every whatever day we get the episode. So be it Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever the fuck we actually get it. And I'd be sitting there glued to the fucking computer because the show is great.
And like Saber is just getting started, so I'm sure I'll be more invested once it actually takes off. But it's got this weird feeling for me where like we're literally being dropped into the middle of an already ongoing story. It feels like we're in like episode 20 of a different show that's already been going.
with things that I've gotten by this point, it's like we're in season 4 because it's literally, hey, there has already been a cast and shit's already gone down.
Right, like all the regular cast is already there, and then the main character is the late arrival.
Well, not even that. Just even things that we're getting now. It turns out no. Every um aside from Dad Rider, everybody else is new.
Oh wait, really?
Everybody. Yes.
Huh.
They're all a bunch of greenhorn jackasses because the previous members died.
Just like Rhea Soldier.
Yeah. Quite literally for Blue.
Oof.
Yeah. That started to get rough. But yeah, it's like he's the only one. Yeah, it's literally we had a show, we killed off all the main cast except one and went, and their writers went, shit, we have to write more of this, don't we? Here's some new people because of reasons, and let's give them all connections. So yeah, aside from that, like Saber's unique for some of the things it's doing because it very much feels like Sentai over a writer show at the moment.
And it's being written by the same person who wrote Ghost, and after watching Ghost for myself, Ghost is a good show. I can see where people would call it a mess, because there are certain subplots that just get unresolved. They get resolved in unsatisfying ways, but like otherwise, like no, it's a pretty solid show actually.
It's like, and then you end up with characters that are like, no, I hate this character. Why? I don't know. I just hate this character. Like, since I had that issue with the scientist villain, the one that what's her name keeps slapping in the face.
Yeah, I called that he was going to fall in love with her, like the first time it happened.
Someone's into S&M.
No, he's just into powerful women. She's the only one to stand up to him.
I can live with that. I can accept that.
That's the vibe that I got.
My version was funnier in the thought that I had. But for me, it's like Saber's great. I hate two people. I hate the new guy, and I fucking hate Tassel. Was his ridiculous cousin.
I hope Tassel becomes like an actual relevant character on the show at some point.
I hope not.
So you
please, for the love of, I would rather him just be the annoying ass narrator
just
than have to
this random narrator, start to finish, no connection to any other character.
Beyond the person telling us the fucking story. I would rather have that than to have to deal with that fucking character in the fucking show.
I hope that in like episode 35, like you find out he's like the wise great sage or something.
God damn it. Ghost, the writer of Ghost is writing this, so it makes fucking sense. As long as he's not locked up with his cat, I'm fine.
That was such a good reveal. I'm glad I didn't get spoiled for me.
To me, that was the best reveal in Ghost.
Oh.
Makes Urisen's character make so much fucking sense.
Alright, so thanks for joining us today, everybody.
We'll be back tomorrow with more Kamen Rider Saber. And we'll be back here for the greatest Sentai I have watched in years. Fight me on it. I said it. The only one that's almost the greatest, because Rhea Soldier and Lupat kind of beat this out.
I was gonna say, like, both of those were really. I
had to edit those.
Okay, like, you're comparing three shows that could all arguably be like A pluses.
Oh yeah, like these three for different reasons too. Like,
They're all
Lupat
different
for
genres.
Lupat for its excellent writing and pacing for that show,
And
with
choreography.
edge and choreography and filmography for that. If it's as amazing as that was through those two through that series. Real Soldier for its writing, characters, and as much as I hate to say it, their fucking soundtrack. I don't understand why there was, pirate music in that show, but whatever. It was awesome. And
And
then some of the greatest villains in Sentai history.
and now Kiramager for its comedic timing, its throwback material, like just its general execution of its concepts.
And it's done fantastically. Because like we said to start with this podcast for how many fucking weeks of the show? 100% a parody show.
Yeah,
And it was phenomenal for it.
it was. I think it was around episode 10 we realized it was a parody.
Yeah, somewhere around there, and then it got 100% solidified with Glue Jamin when they super glued the mechs to each other, and they called it a combination.
The first altogether mech.
Yeah, Jesus. But like, even with as much as this show has shifted from what it was, because it's still very much in the comedic aspect of it and parody-ish. It's gotten into the realm of like legitimate Sentai plots and shit, and it's like, this is still fucking awesome. And it did so without losing any of the charm that it made being the parody.
Alright, so